Hey, welcome back everyone. It is a beautiful Monday in the shop today and we are polishing to perfection. If you've kept up with the videos, you know so far we're going into the manicure with a waterless approach to keep those nail beds dry and make sure that we have great application and adhesion of the gel polish to the nail. We've gone over nail shaping, how to, and what shapes are healthier for your nail. We've also gone over cuticle care, which was last week's video, the most important video. We've cleaned the nail bed properly. We've been able to identify what the cuticle is and make sure that we're properly removing it and protecting the skin around the nail bed. But now we're ready for the polish. So I'm gonna dive into this polishing and share a couple of tips on how to finish off your manicure having beautiful applied gel polish that's gonna last and look perfect for weeks. Okay, so here we're ready to polish. I went ahead and with a buffer, 180, 100 grit. You always want to use a buffer, not a file. It's a lot cushionier, softer, and it's going to give you a much smoother buff. For the most part, I used the 180. It's a lot softer. If you have nail beds or a client with nail beds that are much thinner, or you notice that it gets a little bit hard to buff smoothly, then I would go with a higher grade buffer, meaning a higher number. But for the most part, my 180 is really, really great. So I'll go through and I'll make sure that I buff all around the edges. Now, if you saw in the cuticle care and you've been implementing those tips, you'll have a very nice clean bed. No cuticle skin stuck around the edges. You want to make sure that's nice and smooth, because when you go in there with the polish, it'll be absorbed and not only take you a little time to clean, but you might not be able to get it as clean as you'd like. So now that I've buffed and made sure we had a smooth nail plate, I'm just gonna go in and with a supposedly lint-free cloth. They're like lintless cloth, but we'll go through and we'll wipe off any debris. You wanna make sure you have a nice smooth surface before you start putting on your base, because any little greediness that you'll have will show through the polish, which many times will just be covered up by the second coat. But we want to eliminate that from happening. So inspect, make sure you have a nice clean surface. I love how beautiful my client's natural nails are. And let's get to polishing. The first step is your base coat. I use Gelish foundation. I've used their base and top coat for many years and never have an issue. So I haven't had the need to try other brands. It works super well. And with the base coat, you always want to apply a very thin application. You don't want it to be too thick, because it might affect how smoothly you're able to put on the other coats. I like starting almost to the back and kind of pushing up a little bit. Let's go through and we're going to put the base coat on all the nails. So now we've applied the base coat on all the nails, and you want to be as careful applying the base coat as you are with the regular polish, because if you apply too much and it gets into the cuticle bed, your regular polish coat, when you're putting it on, it's going to go wherever the base coat goes. So even though it's clear and it's super thin, if you get anything around the edges, you want to make sure that you're cleaning it off. You want to make sure that you reached all to the end without getting into the actual nail bed. Make sure we have nice clean application. Okay, and then we go ahead and we cure. Now let's do the next one.
you out of my mind. It's like I feel it for the first time. Been thinking about you all night. I've been searching for this all my life. You're just my type. I've been looking for a boy who can treat me right. Your dark hair with those eyes so bright, they look into my soul and it sparks my life. Can I take you there? Like it was the first time, do you remember? Can I take you there? Back to when we felt like this was forever. Can I take you there? Like it was the first time.
Now we've cured our base coat. What's really great about the base coat, and I think it would work with any brand that you use, but what's really great is once you've applied the first coat, if you have a client that has little dips or ridges in their nail, go ahead and use the base coat, apply a second coat onto that and cure it. It definitely helps in leveling out the nail plate a little bit so that you have a smooth application of the color. Okay, now it's color application time. We're going to be doing a little Susie Chase's Portuguese, definitely one of the favorite whites. And when applying your polish, you want to make sure that you're not putting too much color on the brush. You want to make sure that you're able to manage it. I tend to put the first glop down in the middle of the nail. Sometimes it comes off heavy. And I push it back to the cuticle line. And you want to try to apply the color in as few strokes as possible to keep it even. One of the greatest benefits of making sure you have a very clean cuticle line is how close you're able to get the polish to the end without touching any of that skin and having any unevenness, because you might not notice it right away, but once it starts growing out and you see how rigid and crooked that edge is to the cuticle bed, it starts kind of standing out a little bit more. So we're just going to go ahead and finish polishing all 10 of these beautiful fingers with the first coat. Now I am a perfectionist, so my client's hands never go into the light until I double check the work. Sometimes a little bit of gel might run off a little bit, and I want to make sure I have beautiful, smooth application. So I'll double check and give them the green light to go ahead and put it in. So now we're checking and we have beautiful application. Okay, put that one in. Now we're going for our second coat, and we're going to go ahead and just do the same thing. Nice and clean around the edges. We want to make sure that we're getting all the way around to where that first coat is. Otherwise, you'll end up having a really light spot around the edge. And with a color, especially a color like white that stands out and is so contrasting, you want to make sure that it's going all around the edges. couple things to keep in mind when you're using gel polish. You definitely don't want to apply the layers too thick because gel cures from top to bottom. And if the layer's too thick, then the under part of the gel is not going to dry all the way. So it's going to end up wrinkling up or staying wet. And later on, your client's going to get in the shower and the heat's going to bring it up and they're going to start seeing bubbling under their polish. So when in doubt, applying thinner coats is always best. It'll also help you manage it better if you have issues with gel running off into the cuticle. Just apply thinner coats until you're able to maneuver the gel polish and you start getting a feel for the consistency of the gel. Just by using the gel brush and polishing it on the nail, I can tell which colors I need to apply carefully and thinner and which colors I'm able to be a little bit more liberal with. Usually colors that you want to make sure you're not too liberal with are very pigmented colors, blacks, whites, even some neon colors that are really vibrant. Those tend to be a little bit thicker, and even applying a pretty thin coat will still get some issues with curing. So just be on the lookout for that, and the more familiar you become with your product and being able to get a good sense of what kind of consistency you're dealing with, you'll definitely be able to minimize those occurrences from happening. Do my double check. Everything looks beautiful. Put that one in. I use an LED light. It's a lot faster, and for those that are concerned with UV, it's definitely much safer. But I definitely appreciate how fast the LED is. We've done 2 coats. The 2 coats gave me the coverage that I expected, so I don't need to do anything more. Next thing is our top it off. I also use gelish for my top coat, although I do use other brands, some no wipe top coats. But for the most part, my clients get topped off with gelish. You don't want to be too liberal in the top coat application because the polish tends to be a thinner consistency. And if you put too much, it'll run into the cuticle line, especially as you're doing the other nails and the nails kind of sitting sideways. Little by little, the gel ends up running off to the edge. Either way, we're going to double check it before it goes in, but try to be careful in applying the top coat to minimize the need for cleanup later. And it's super, super important that this top coat reaches every single edge, including this tip part, okay? But when you brush the tip, you got to make sure that you smooth it out again. Otherwise, you'll get a little lump right here that settles in the tip of the nail. And when it cures, you can't really do anything about it. So get it all the way around the edge, all the way up top. Little bit of shiny in this pinky. I don't know if you could see it right there, but I don't want that because once it starts growing out and separating from the skin, not that it's going to lift on its own, but our clients might be tempted to pick at it. Put that one in. And we don't want to give them any reasons to pick. So there's a sticky layer left on the top coat since I'm using a regular wipe off top gel. So I get 99% alcohol and just wipe it off. It's very important you do this because if you leave it on and it starts hardening on there and things will get sticky to it, you'll never really be able to clean it as good. So always make sure that you're using pure alcohol as well. The lower grade in alcohol, the more dullness you're gonna get on the actual color once you wipe it off. Put a little cuticle oil. This is our little cuticle massage. Yay. Cuticle needs love too.
It's like my favorite part.
Yes. It smells nice. It does. All right, let me go on the under part of the filing. Make sure there's no filing. Okay, put that one up. All right. Something that I noticed, just a quick tip, when you're wiping off the gel, if you're using the same pad that you used on the first hand and you're noticing that the second hand isn't wiping off as shiny, grab a new pad. You probably just have too much inhibition layer on that side, so it's kind of getting in the way of the alcohol wiping it off properly. But it's an easy fix. Just grab a new little white pad, get some alcohol on there again and wipe it. It's not going to damage or do anything to the doneness of the gel polish. We're gonna put our little cuticle oil right here under the little cuticle massage. All right. Let's get this out of the way. Take a look at these beautiful nails. So there you have it. Polished perfectly, no gel in the cuticle line, no clear gel in the cuticle line, no streaking. We have good coverage. When in doubt, if you feel the coverage isn't where it should be, apply the third coat. It definitely takes time, and some longer than others, but take your time polishing. I'm just gonna wipe off some of the residue cuticle oil off the nails. But I remember when it would take me over an hour just to polish a manicure perfectly. Now, as you can see, it definitely doesn't take that long, very little effort. These nails right here will last her more than 4 weeks if she needed to. But she's super on point. My clients don't miss their appointments. She will be back in 2 weeks, no matter how perfect they look. But I can assure you this manicure will look this perfect 4 weeks from now, without a fail. There you have it, a beautifully, perfectly polished manicure with really little effort. If you're doing the steps properly leading up to the polishing, you're going to have a very clean nail bed. You're going to have a better chance of that polish going on smoothly, not running into cuticle, and you're definitely going to increase the time that your client's going to be able to wear that manicure. But make sure that it's looking really good throughout. So if you've missed any of the previous videos, links are going to be down below and they're in the cards. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, and most importantly, sharing. I want everyone to see how easy it is to do a proper manicure so that we're getting not only healthier nails, but also super long lasting, perfect polished manicures. And if you haven't caught me on Instagram already, make sure that you do. I keep up with my nail art, but I use my stories on my live to follow up on how long the manicures are lasting and how beautiful those cuticles are looking even after weeks. So thank you so much. I'm very grateful for everyone that's tuning in, and I'm super excited to get at you with the next video.